Hey everybody, thanks for joining us on this week's Beer and Bullshit podcast. This week, Jay and I are joined by our good friend Chef Nic Gignac, who runs the kitchen over at the Stack Brewhouse in Sudbury. He was joining us this week to talk a little bit about how this whole pandemic, COVID-19 coronavirus situation has been affecting their business and the restaurant industry in general. Obviously, we veered off into all sorts of stuff. We love to chat with Nick, and this is the second time he comes on the podcast, and it's always a good time to get together with Nick and have a good chat. So hope you guys enjoy it. The audio at the 37 minute mark gets a little sketchy, so hopefully you guys can follow the conversation. You'll hear me chime in at one point when there's a hard edit there. So we did have some technical difficulties when recording this, but hopefully you guys still enjoy. Thanks so much for checking out the podcast and for joining us again this week. And here we go. Cheers.
We've been drinking beer, and we'll be drinking when you get here. Thinking, will I ever be sober? Hoping this will never be over. And I'm drinking beer, and I'll be drinking when you get here.
Live. Sure. Bullshit. Hanging out in the bunkers again with Chef Nic tonight. How you doing, man?
Surviving. How are you?
I'm doing okay. I mean, I feel like I'm starting to get what people call cabin fever, but I don't know. I'm surviving, so I'm still alive.
Are you actually working? Like, Jay, are you working as well, or
Yep.
what the fuck's going on? Yeah,
I'm currently working just from home a few times a week, and also a lot of extra hours. You know, you don't understand. An educator has many hours put in on the outside of just teaching. You know,
I love how you're making a mockery of it.
I am not making a mark. I'm being 100% serious.
And how are you holding up, Jay? You got the newborn at home.
No, what am I?
Too, Nick too. Yes, that's true.
You're a day apart, man.
A day apart, yeah, a day apart.
That's crazy.
Yeah. No, good. Today was a pretty decent day. We celebrated Good Friday like a proper Catholic family. You know what? You remember what Jesus said when he was on the cross? He said, "Ow, this hurts. Don't fucking eat fish. Or don't eat fish, don't eat fucking meat." That's what he said. So
only eat fish.
Yeah, only fish. No meat. Don't touch meat.
Then why do some people eat chicken still?
So I don't know. I got to interject here. I feel like the whole no meat thing is where the whole don't masturbate thing comes in.
Could be.
You think that's just a translation issue?
Poorly translated, yes.
It could be. And I had another question. Do you think that on the Last Supper, you think Judas picked up the bill? Like, he just got a bunch of extra shekels there from the Romans.
No, he ramped up his bill and ghosted.
Just took off. Because I assumed, you're talking about the group of guys those people were. There was 12, 13 with Jesus. They're at the time, all of God's chosen religion. They probably split up the bill. I'm just saying one person didn't just jump up and take it. I'm sure they split the bill. I'm just guessing.
I mean, realistically, Jesus was schizophrenic, and he was by himself with his 12 different personalities or whatever. And sorry, history majors question all that shit.
That's fact. All of that we're talking about is complete fact.
Yeah. It's scripture, even.
Hey. I've always said my favorite class was science class, especially the Old Testament.
Is this what we're doing tonight, or what?
Yeah. Well, it's Friday.
Change from Corona fucking everything.
Oh, Jesus. Have you got fatigue too?
I mean, yeah, and to a degree, it's like I go to work every day, right? So there's a measure of paranoia leaving the fucking house. And then bringing that shit home. Yeah. Right?
Especially when you have a young child, right?
Well, right. Yeah, so there's certainly like advanced food safety handling practices apply, right? Like wash your fucking hands. It's pretty straightforward, but it's not necessarily you that's the problem. It's some other schmuck who's not doing it.
You that's the problem.
No, you're right about that, and I feel like that's that. I've been sort of wondering.
Yeah.
Peanut gallery every once in a while, right?
That's
Yeah.
all right.
Good.
That's all right.
Good pod. Someone yelling in the background. Good pod.
Shut up. That was a terrible point. She says.
Yeah.
I want to hear that. But no, I have been a little bit curious about what kind of atmosphere is out there for people who actually have to go out into the workplace still, essential workers and all. Cause I mean, I just go out for runs, and even there, everybody's like completely moving aside, and everybody's hyper aware of how close they are to everyone. So I can just imagine what it's like in the workplace when you're trying to accomplish work, right?
Yeah. Like it's like we basically laid off the entirety of the staff, right? We're down to all salaried positions. Like Jess is on mat leave, so it doesn't really apply for her, but it's like myself, the sales guy, the owner, and the brewer, and that's pretty well it. And that was like, we had a staff of what, 15 front of house, 5 kitchen.
I had 12 staff.
Yeah, so like we had probably just shy of 25 people working there, and now we're down to what, 4, 5, maybe.
Jesus. Okay.
Yeah. So like it's substantial when you're going to work, and I mean you're dealing with the same people all the time, but also everybody who walks through the door, also. Like you have 2 extremes, right? You have people that obviously don't think it's real and don't give a flying fuck, and they're like wandering around and over your shoulder, and you're like, dude, get the fuck out of here. Or you have the person that like opens the door and gives you their order from the doorway, and then like, can I pay with tap? You're like, yeah, we'll do whatever.
Okay.
We'll bring it out to the car or whatever the hell you want, right? But we should have started a timer at the start of this shit to see how long it was going to take until we started talking about this shit.
First thing. Let's don't.
Well, it's like, what else is there to talk about, though, right?
Yeah.
Like, it's what's going on in the entire world right now.
Jess says babies.
Oh, babies. I guess you're right.
Yeah. The other tidbit, I listened to your shit last week, and there were a couple times that I wanted to like chime in and bark at you guys, but unfortunately I wasn't on.
What facts did we get wrong?
No, like it wasn't necessarily you're getting facts wrong, but like you're talking about how, you know, if everybody goes on lockdown and like shit can go back to normal, and the reality is like this is the new fucking normal.
Yep.
Right? And like from a business standpoint, you have people that are like obviously hurting. Like we're in the position where we laid off the majority of the staff. There are other people that have completely closed their business. Restaurants Canada shared a bunch of shit like for last month, and they're talking about 1 in 10 restaurants are going to close permanently already, and then they're looking at another probably 30% if this proceeds for another 2 months. But there's like fucking 800,000 restaurant employees applied for EI.
Yeah.
Right?
So there's 2 things
against
there.
Me, I mean,
Keep going.
Fuck up. Right? every episode is just Jay rambling on, right? So this is my turn.
You understand? My job is I just speak and people listen to me.
Yeah. But now it's my turn. I'm here, so I'm gonna fucking not stop talking. But
You wanted this.
You guys asked me to be here.
That's right.
Bad idea. The old Jewish guy just
So
complaining.
I was chatting with Jess about this earlier, that it's like you got what SNC Lavalin gets a fucking lovely bailout and all that shit, and they're like basically work around them, and they employ 9,000 people in Canada. GM maybe 5,000. Like what the fuck are they going to do for the restaurant industry that employs over 1 million people? And as of next month, shit's going to hit the fan. Because it's not this month that's the problem, right? If you have enough floating capital to kind of get by, you're okay in theory, but you're not going to make up the 70% in sales that you're losing by closing your dining room in fucking takeout, let alone using Skip the Dishes where they take 25%, or Uber Eats that take 30%. Like, take your fucking pick. You're not going to make that shit up. So what's the alternative?
With what margins already, and you're already cutting how much away.
You're looking at margins for a restaurant that are like below 10%, and that's like a successful restaurant has a margin that is below 10%.
Jesus.
Would your margins technically be lower with a much lower staff now, though?
Yeah, okay. But you're still paying rent, you're still paying insurance, you're still paying utilities, gas, all the other shit. Right?
So, I two things about that. So, I got another suggestion from somebody. Somebody had a question or something they want to talk about from Robin Mongeau. I'm not sure if that's one of Corey's buddies.
I know Rob.
So,
yeah.
He did want to know, and I think this, like, if you just keep it to the food industry, but we can talk about industry overall afterwards. But like, how do you adapt to that? How does, let's say, the food industry adapt to this? Not just right now, but post-COVID world. Like, will there be a shift on that change? And and are people going to be, like, is it going to be more fast food, or will there be a bump when this gets back to normal or more normal? Will it be a bump? And like, yes, there'll be restaurants closing, but do we now have a bunch of restaurants opening up to fill that void?
So look at it this way. Immediately, like, if fucking tomorrow, for whatever reason, they're going to lift all these bans, right? And you're not back to normal. No one's been working, or a significant portion of the people haven't been working. So what disposable income do people have?
Yeah.
Right. So like, especially for a restaurant, like, you're not going to go out and indulge when you're strapped for cash. Like, that's just one of the first things that you're going to say, fuck it.
Right? How long is that lag going to be? Like, let's say that's 2 months. Let's say 3 months, or hell, 7 months. 7 months after that, do you think there'll be a shift to less of that, or do you think that, like, or will there be a bit of a pickup again?
Honestly, I don't think that the restaurant industry will ever be the same. Mm-hmm. And like, I feel as though there's going to be a significant amount of businesses that are going to go under. There are some issues that have come to light, like insurance companies basically saying, fuck you, and we're not covering you for your losses. And that's kind of like, why are you paying for insurance then? Right? And then they're turning around and doing it's a government-imposed lockdown. It's not technically an act of God, and all the other shit. So it's like, loophole, whatever, find your little weasel way out of it. So there are businesses that are going to be hurting, and not just restaurants, right? I'm speaking from that standpoint only. Mm-hmm. But like, you're going to have people change their model. And like, a lot of restaurants that didn't have a takeout option, obviously, are still open and are trying to make ends meet with takeout. And then there's the third-party system that, like, Uber Eats, DoorDash, Chow Now, Skip the Dishes, whatever, take your pick. They all take a percentage, right? So your margin being what it is already, like, you have to completely revamp your business. And you may see something like, there's a bit of a rise in ghost kitchens, which is kind of a shitty name for it, but whatever, where they don't actually have, like, a dining room, and their sole purpose is pumping out food for delivery. Right? So, like, you just work your pricing in to include the whatever margin that they're taking, and then your labor cost would plummet because you'd have, 2, 3 maybe, or if you're good, 1.
So I see what's in your future.
Yeah. Well, we'll see. Well, we're fortunate enough, like, at Stack, we're able to sell beer, right? So we've got a bit of an angle, and, like, granted, the government recently changed the laws to allow for, like, alcohol delivery through a restaurant, but
can I stop you on that one for 1 second? Because I think the craft brewers are definitely gonna take a better somebody like Stack is definitely gonna fare better in those situations, because who's ordering a meal from East Sides and ordering a Canadian on the side, right? And
so for $6.
Yeah, and these places, I'm sure a significant portion of their revenue was alcohol sales. So, like, why would you order, like I said, a Canadian from there when you could just have a case delivered to your house and you could take it out of the fridge if that's what you choose to buy? Whereas, like,
you just need to buy food, right?
Exactly.
That's the stipulation. So, like, we were talking about this as, like, you can sell a small fry in a 50-liter fucking keg. Like, what's stopping you?
That's true,
right?
yeah.
So, I mean, it'd be hilarious to see a third-party delivery driver show up, pick up the little small fry, and be like, "Here's your 50-liter keg. Go deliver it. Bye." Right? Like, I'm gonna piss myself laughing the whole time. But like that is gonna pass apparently. Like, well, the law has passed, obviously, but like third-party delivery specifically through Skip, because that's who we're dealing with. They're talking about like in the next week or two, they'll be able to do that. And obviously that is a kind of game changing for us, because as you mentioned, right, you're talking about you go to Eastside Mario's or wherever, like pick a restaurant, they're buying that beer or whatever bottle of wine from someone else, and then they have to mark it up and then sell it, whereas we're producing it, so our cost on it on resale is much lower than, you know, like you can have a restaurant that is selling the same product and it will be at an inflated price because they purchase it from us. So there's like a very fine line that we're going to have to walk, because obviously you're not going to want to piss off all the restaurants in town that are also trying to sell your product. But at the same time, like, we're a business and we got to make ends meet too, right?
Walk in for $3 and then.
So thank you. Jess chimes into the background.
That's good. This is perfect.
With the tidbit that, like, I've been saying to our
She totally wants to sit in right next to you. Right
Yeah.
now.
She's more than welcome to.
The last time we did this shit, and I was saying Jess is going to come, and then you guys were joking about how she doesn't exist, and now fucking married and kid, right?
I don't remember this wedding.
Yeah, you were drunk. It's fine. But yeah, like you have somebody purchasing the item. If they come into the brew house, they can buy a tall boy for what, $3, right? So what? You're going to turn around and charge it because it's being delivered for $7 because another restaurant's doing that? Like, you can't do that either, right? No. So like, we got to walk that line a little bit, and unfortunately, given the circumstances right now, it's kind of dog eat dog, right?
Yeah.
You're going to do what you got to do, and that's it.
But do you think that, like, just getting to Jay's point, do you think that obviously the market's going to change in the end of all this? Like, there's no going back to what it was before.
Right.
And that's for many industries. But especially, I think the restaurant industry is going to be different, because it's not just the economic part of it, but also just the nature of the public health nature of the issue right now, right? Like, the fact that how are you going to get, if this goes on for 18 months where we're social distancing and staying home, how are you going to get people to go out and be close to other people again, right? There's going to be a non-insignificant portion of the population that it's going to take them a long time before they readjust to getting out in public and being in crowds again. Yeah,
for sure. Like, we're gonna be dealing with this for a long time, and it's not just the actual virus, but it's the economic downfall of what's taking place right now. So you're gonna have restaurants basically getting their asses kicked for the foreseeable future. Yeah. And realistically, you're talking about like the health measures and stuff. Like, I'm of the mindset that I would rather go and get takeout from a restaurant or whatever, skip the dishes, take your pick, right? Because you're buying it from somebody who has their safe food handling ticket. They are inspected by the health unit, all that shit. And you're not going out in a public space where, okay, granted, they're limiting it to 50 people, right? If you go to the grocery store. But you don't know what happened prior to you showing up, or who touched what, or sneezed on this, or whatever. Yeah. Right? So,
well, this is why you're getting all this stuff about this is how you properly disinfect your groceries when you bring them home, which, to me seems a little bit crazy, but I understand where the impulse comes from, right? Because those types of things where you say, like, listen, you could have exposure just from these from going to the grocery store and grabbing your food, right? I don't know. You could drive yourself nuts. Like,
can I chime in with, like,
no.
I go to the fucking store.
No.
Okay, Yeah, it's like just cut
Not
me
at all.
off.
We'll keep
Yeah.
going. Anyways,
You go to the store and you see people, and it's like they're taking these measures, like wearing gloves and masks and all this shit, and you're like, cool, good for you, right? Like you're being proactive and doing your thing. But then there's no concept of cross-contamination whatsoever. So they have the same pair of fucking gloves on, they touch their cart, they touch all this shit, touch the pin pad to pay stuff, take their mask off, answer their phone, whatever the hell the case may be, and it's like, why are you even fucking wearing gloves?
Yeah. You're better off to wash your hands more frequently. Right?
Well, and wearing gloves doesn't replace washing your hands.
No.
Like anybody in the restaurant industry, or if you spoke to the health unit, I'm sure doctors can chime in on this shit too. Like, you wash your hands, you put gloves on, you do whatever the fuck that task is, and then you remove the gloves, you wash your hands, put on a new set of gloves, and rinse and repeat, right? Like, that's the whole concept. But people are I guess, not educated on that.
Not everyone has their advanced food safety training.
That's a fair
Did you
point.
hear
I
that?
heard
Yeah.
that. I heard that. No, but
Yeah.
I think there's also an element of like psychology and trauma that's going on right now. Just like the people that I see, like if you see people wearing gloves and wearing face masks. Well, the face mask thing recently they revised those recommendations, but up to now that hasn't been part of what's been recommended by our public health officials, right? So I think that's been more about giving people their own level of comfort with going out and touch. But the gloves point is a good one, meaning like you think you're protected, but you're actually putting yourself more at risk through
Well,
cross
and
contamination,
man,
right?
It's not like at this point, it's not even about you, right? Like anybody who has the attitude that is like, "Oh, I'm young,
everything's about
I'm
me.
not smoking,"
Everything's about-
right? But like you go and you touch a bunch of shit, or you go visit your grandparents, and then what?
Yeah.
Right? Like, and it's that mindset that's gonna fuck this up and drag it out.
Well, it's going to be, like, we talked about this, I think, a couple of weeks ago when we were originally talking about, like, apparently, I don't know, like, I read a Globe Mail article by Andrew Coyne. He was saying that it looks like the social distancing that Canada's doing is working. Like, we're under what was projected at this time, as far as numbers go. But the thing is that it's still going to go up, and if we're successful in social distancing, it's going to prolong this. The idea is to prolong this.
Yeah,
Right?
like you don't overwhelm the hospitals and all the other shit. Like that's the whole concept.
Yeah, exactly. So I don't know. Like it seems like, because I keep seeing stuff on social media about like people, hey, like stay the fuck home. I want to have my summer. Like this isn't going back to normal by summer, you know. Like regardless, even if you stay home, it's not going back to normal by summer. And I think everybody's slowly but surely coming to terms with this. And what I'm afraid of is that we're gonna hit a point where people have this like social distancing fatigue, and they start to slack or push against the rules of it. And what's going to happen is what would probably happen is that there'll be an uptick in numbers, and then the lockdowns come, right?
Yeah.
Where you're not allowed to leave your house without special permission, like the shit they were seeing in Italy, right?
With the screaming drone.
Did you see the video of the mayors just cussing out their fucking like citizens? I love that.
I know.
People playing on drones, chasing people. It's amazing.
So drone videos, all right. Google, I'm doing that later. Yeah.
Apparently, California has a snitch line for.
We have one. You 311
Yep.
that shit and you call it in. Yeah.
Call it in. Why it's there, but that's kind of eerie, right? Is it not like a little scary to think that we've got lines to rat on our neighbors? And if you don't like your neighbor,
Just do it.
call them in.
Like more about this topic, but like not just food industry, but like do we see other industries changing? Like, you know, Like think about government budget, the Ontario Public Service, or we talked about teaching before, how originally there was a big backlash against online learning. This might somewhat give it a bit of momentum, but do we see other stuff like think about the Ministry of Natural Resources? Are they going to be they have to go in the field, a handful of them, to go do water sampling? Like, are they going to change how they do stuff? Is it going to be more solo stuff? People who do different type of assessments, are they just going to be doing it from home and just doing the ones who do the research and get the data and do whatever? The backlash from that, because I'll tell you right now, it would be a hell of a lot harder to argue the point to have a couple extra research or biologists with the MOE on payroll when you don't even have a building somewhere, if they're all working from wherever.
Well, how about travel? Right? Like, how the hell are you going to board a plane and be in a confined area and still maintain your social distancing and all the other shit? Like, it's a shame that gas is the price that it is, right? And it's like, let's go on a road trip, but no.
Well, fuel is worth, right? Like, and I know that's not the only reason why it's why it is where it is. Like, obviously, there's other geopolitical stuff there.
Russia,
yeah. Reinvent ourselves out of this, but it's not without a lot of pain, though.
Yeah.
Like, I think there'll definitely be some innovating, and there'll definitely be. I mean, you talk about other things that have happened where like the world sort of turns on a dime, right? I don't know what other kind of what other large scale events have happened to the point where it's like, oh yeah, we used to do this pre-COVID, right? And now we do this, and
I think if you look at just like big significant events that have changed kind of like how things have happened, like you can look at Chernobyl and then Fukushima, like those things happen, and now the first time essentially there was a huge moratorium on new nuclear power plants. When it happened in Japan, it was like, all right, we're going to start shifting completely away, which you can argue cleaner energy would have pumped out a lot more, been a hell of a lot better for a bunch of things.
How do you get Godzilla, man?
It's like, Nick said, who's going to want to get on a plane? How can that industry even survive? Because no one's going to want to get on a plane for a while. So, like, the only way that industry can survive if it's nationalized, like literally the government has to take that over and have, guess what, Air Canada being part of the government Canada again, because who else would run a service that's going to be in the red the whole time?
Yeah, Canada already owns Bombardier, don't they?
Yeah.
No, Quebec, the government of Quebec's investment fund owns like 35%, and now the other portion's owned by Airbus, and Air Canada shouldn't be in business. They've been bought out or paid out.
Money into virtual reality. That's where we're going to be watching sports in the near future.
So the Matrix. All right. So Jess chimed in. I don't know. You guys obviously ignored her, and you're more ignoring her than I am. So congratulations. But you're talking about events that have changed how we go about our lives. Yeah. And you can ask anybody in our age group, right? Where the hell were you when 9/11 happened, right? So now, do you remember traveling to 9/11? Because I don't remember ever having my fucking shoes searched until that shit happened, right?
Like right there.
Trying to light his shoe on fire or whatever. But security screenings and air travel, really.
Yeah.
I always hate the take off your belt. Can you take your belt off? It's like, really? Of all things.
I had that happen, and I remember walking through the metal detector, and I didn't take my belt off, and the person was like, it's a metal detector. It's going to go off, and the belt, it's going to keep my fucking pants on. That was probably around the time I got detained in Australia, but that's a whole other story.
People are sort of drawing parallels to 9/11 on this front, but I ultimately I think
it's an inside job, government
conspiracy. That's why they released it. They want everybody to get vaccines, right?
Oh, it's all them gay bombs making the frogs gay.
I mean, there's that. I mean, we talked a little bit about the conspiracy. A lot of discussion going around about, and there should be a lot of discussion on where accountability lies for lack of preparedness and all that kind of stuff. Will come, but I think people have taken those kind of initial talks and turned them into like, woo, somebody was planning this all along, right?
So I'm going to chime in with the amount of people that comment as far as like, oh, well, businesses should have a rainy day fund. You're like, yes, rainy day.
Yeah.
Right? Like, what the fuck are we talking about? You know, mom and pop little like corner store is not going to have a biblical fucking plague in their business plan.
Yeah.
Like, that's just not happening. So, like, a lot of people are going to be in need of help. Whether, like, I don't think loans are the answer because everyone's already in the hole and you're just like, oh, dig your way out. Like,
you think they bail out Main Street instead of Wall Street this time?
oh, fuck. Yeah, well, I don't know, man. Because, like, even the wage subsidy, well, that's great, but everyone got fucking laid off. There's no work for these people.
Yeah.
So if you're going to rehire them, to do what? Yeah. Like, you don't have the fucking work. It's like, you know, I'm doing the work in the kitchen by myself where we have a staff of like 4 other people. Like, I can't rehire them and then...
That, though, I think it's like... I think we can be honest. The government's kind of grasping at straws, saying like, let's just throw some things out there, and hopefully, you know, like I think they're just trying to limit the bleeding a bit. Like, hopefully, something will stick. Like, unless, unlike the Americans, where it's like, peace, you know, like figure it out.
Let's not even talk about the States right now. Exactly. That's like, holy fuck, man.
Well,
like, you try to unwrap that. Good luck. But Spain rolled out a universal income, right?
I think that comes out of this.
To, but that's been.
Spain have done it. Unless I'm full of shit. I can Google this right now and find out. But nevertheless,
we don't Google anything.
I think most countries who can afford it, most countries that can do it, this happens because of this. That everybody gets a universal basic income, because you're not only going to see and I don't know, like I think you're going to see a lot of the economic problems and everything, like those types of organizations are going to go under as well, and there won't be enough. There won't be enough to go around to sort of bail out. They're saying like, listen, you lost your job. The government just provides this floor for everybody, not only from a public health perspective, but also from just an economy problem. Is the third world, the developing world, some of that heavily rely on that and are also not swimming in money, right?
Yeah.
I think those parts, like we talk about the consequences to the Western economy, it'll be insane, but the people that are already kind of grasping at straws, like, what does the world look like during and after this for them, right?
Mm-hmm. The same medical practices that we would have either in like these developing or not developed countries, if you will. Canada's numbers that I'm pretty naive as far as what's going on elsewhere. I know Italy's a hotspot, Spain had their issues, and the US is a fucking shit show. But you know, apart from that,
they don't know if it's either because testing hasn't been to the same level. Is it that the warmer weather, or is it that the warmer weather is actually playing a factor like they were kind of hoping it would? So like, is it that fact that Argentina, Venezuela, Brazil don't have the high numbers? Hey, it's off the radar.
North Korea has the best numbers, period, right?
Did you see that meme?
Bro, 0. That's like, you got corona, poof, done. 0, right?
Did you see that meme?
Process.
Where it's like it was like number of COVID patients in North Korea, 845, 1.
Well, there was also the one in Finland. They showed all the countries like new cases in the day. It's like, 400, 300, and Finland showed -1. Then it had the Undertaker and whatever. It's like,
oh god, you gotta laugh. Like it's brutal, but we sort of still there's nothing. And that's half the disempowering aspect of this whole situation, is the fact that the best thing you can do, like binge watch Netflix.
Home. Stay the Blazes home. You saw that shit, right?
No.
The Newfie premiere? No, come on.
Nova Scotia.
Nova Scotia premiere?
I didn't
So there's an awesome song, much like the Trudeau one that's going around.
that's good. All right, so at this point in the podcast, you're probably realizing that the audio in the video gets pretty sketchy. So we decided to do a hard edit here. We did lose a lot of the beer talk that we often indulge in these podcasts, unfortunately. But just want to take this opportunity to give a shout out to our local breweries, Full Beer Brewing and Compass Brewing, for providing us with some real good beer throughout this quarantine and making sure that we stay well hydrated. Special shout out to Stack Brewing in Sudbury, who are also still offering their beer throughout this entire quarantine process. You can order their stuff online. So thanks so much for sticking with us in this frustrating part, and I hope you enjoy the second half of the podcast. Cheers.
And that's like kind of the beauty of beer, right? And it's like the same thing for wine or coffee if you're that like fucking snobbish. Like you can have different
But beer, anybody who's this into beer is not a snob, though.
No. They're
They
like,
just have a good palate. That's
right. They got
That's
shit
right.
together, right?
God.
Oh, come on.
I hate going to a goddamn like pickup game and you hear like you're like, oh, what type of beer you got? Oh, I got a 6-pack from the craft brewer, and you just pick out whatever. Then you hear the guy in the corner is like, oh, I'm sorry, I'm just into beer, like I just want beer, real beer, and they pull out like, beer, the shittiest fucking Busch Light or something. And you're like, fuck off! Like, don't tell me you know beer because you fucking can drink Busch Light. Like, it drives me fucking nuts.
Okay, I want a name because you're telling this story and you're right fired up. But I feel like it's somebody we know.
Oh no! I've seen this fucking dozens of times. Every men's league team, every men's league like tournament, it always happens. It drives me bananas. I can't even name a name. I can picture.
You can't name names?
No, it's not that. It's hush. I can't think of a name.
No, I know exactly what you mean though. As far as like anybody who just doesn't buy into the idea that there can be something other than a really carbonated like Bud Light. Like that's beer.
Rice, man. Come on. It's not even beer.
If you drink that stuff too, like I just realized like John and I were talking about, we might have talked about it on the podcast. Someone dropped off some beer for us, and they dropped off some Mill Street Organic, which is Labatt, I believe now, and they dropped off some Bud Lights and something else, and like so we had nothing else to drink but those, so we're just crushing those. We had like 5 or 6 each, and you were nowhere near feeling it like you do with 2 good craft beers. Like it is just water. It sucks.
So, Thanksgiving tradition for the last several years has been like rolling into the cottage and bringing like a keg from Ontario or Stack or whoever the fuck it is. And without fail, the other family that rolls in with us always shows up with a shitload of Bud Light. And you know what's left? And my dad always is the guy who's like, what the fuck am I going to do with all this Bud Light? Yeah. Every fucking year, man. Everyone's on the keg and like, oh, this is really good. And I'm like, yeah, I'll do the same thing next year. Like, don't worry about this shitty Bud Light that no one wants to drink.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And
there's always 3-4 people who just are absolutely like it's like they've sort of developed some kind of affinity for that beer. Like to them, that's what beer tastes like.
It's comfort beer.
Sure. I mean, like anything else, you can learn to love something, right?
Yeah.
So it's like if that's the thing that just sort of they enjoy drinking and they never really bothered to diversify that sort of palate of theirs. And, it's the same type of person that, ham and cheese sandwich or some kind of like gourmet dish is the same thing to them, right?
I got a better example, Corey, is that, no matter what you look at, there's always going to be just high produced lesbian porn. It's always there. But sometimes you want to try something different. You might go into some of the other categories, but It's
What other
it's something-
categories,
Why would
Jay?
I look at anything else? Why would I look at furries? Why would I look at whatever else? Like, I know lesbian porn's there.
Jay's the one who looks at the bracket step bracket mom.
Oh,
Uh,
I'm not gonna go anywhere.
you say, you want me to stop the recording for a sec? Yeah.
No. Too funny. This is funny. You can't cut this stuff. This is the
No,
funny stuff.
that's a good point. I gotta get myself another beer, so you guys chit chat
right.
a little bit.
Yeah,
I'll
well,
chit chat for a bit while we.
Let's talk.
Oh, you want to get me one too?
Sure.
But no. Oh, baby's there hanging out. How's he doing? Is he a little tired?
Well, he hasn't napped at all, so he's being a little.
Dad was on baby duty today, so he didn't sleep properly.
Did you hear that?
Yeah. See, I just
Well,
I put.
was gonna say, like, Jess can sit in, and I'll deal with the boy.
No, you guys
I always.
can inform without me.
Yeah, we're almost done without her. I do the carrier now, and I just put him in a carrier, and within 10 minutes he's out cold. So when I just don't want to deal with it, throw him in a carrier, walk around, he's out in 10 minutes every time.
Yeah, I'm not a bitch, and I'll carry him.
Ah, fuck that. No, I need to drink. I put like a cloth over his head and just start eating like cereal over his head, like crack it.
Parenting hacks with Nick and Jay.
Jess has done that. But, yeah.
I'm not saying that I've changed his diaper and found bran flakes in his diaper, but that's kind of happened.
So, fun fact, our child is a fucking moth. Like, you turn a lamp on, and the dude's like,
Oh yeah.
right into it, right? So, like, never mind the mobile on the crib. It's going to be like, lamp on, put him down, leave.
I'm gonna go get a beer too.
No, it's funny how you find those like little things that they're. It's funny how you find those little things that they're just super attracted to, right? Like it's. Yeah,
with Turner, it's literally like the lamp or like boobs. If I'm carrying him and I walk by Jess, like he does the. Right? I'm like, okay, like yeah, you're hungry. We get it.
He knows. He's learning already. No, it's interesting. We were talking about this. Like, I'm sort of wondering how it's like for people with little kids during this time.
Oh,
and I feel like if you have a little baby, it's really not that different to be sort of caged into your house there.
It's way
But-
scary to leave the house, though.
Did
What's
you hear
that?
Jess was saying it's so much more scary to
Yeah.
leave the house.
Yeah, I can see that. I can definitely see that, and I think that's probably a little bit of a big or a little bit of a difference. Where I was sort of finding that I can imagine it being more difficult is for people who have, like, we have older kids, and our kids are like, they sort of can understand a little bit why we got to stay in the house and why we can do other things and stay occupied with them and include them into stuff. But people who have kids that are somewhere between like 1 and 2.5, 1 and 3, where the kids don't really understand, they can't really participate, but they move all over the place all the time. Like, that's got to be a tough age right now, because you're just consistently on them, keeping them out of shit, right? Trying to work from home while your kids and you don't have any attention to give to them. It's got to be it's good. Well, I mean, I'm sure it's tough all around, but that to me got to be insane right now.
I wouldn't know.
Good pod. That was good. Who knows?
You're dealing with the kiddo. Like, yeah, he's relatively low maintenance most of the time. I'm at work.
He's like, for me.
Yeah, no.
It's been great.
No, the
You
deal.
watch him for 2 hours
the
in the morning
deal
and 2
was-
hours at night.
The deal was I got nighttime duty, right?
Mm.
Like, if he gets up, I'll get up. That's fine. And like, for the first bit, it was a pain in the ass, and I was a zombie at work and all that shit.
I was still breastfeeding him, though.
Yeah, you're still up every 2 hours, no matter what, at this point. But then one day, he ate a bunch, and you put him down, And then he woke up and it was like 7 o'clock in the morning. I was like, holy fuck. Like,
That's a good day. That's
just-
a good day.
like, and it's been pretty,
I'm still getting up.
it's been pretty well, like, every fucking night now. He's sleeping through the night. So I'm like, I'm dad duty at night. And I'm like, yeah, this is, I don't have the boobs that the boy wants. So yeah.
Oh man, no, it's definitely the day where he starts to sleep through that night. To me, that's like a golden one right there, where you can start to actually get your rest. Man, that was a good day.
Yeah. So Jess is like laughing in the corner, right? Because we're here talking about this, like, yeah, as dudes, we can just go to bed and wake up in the morning, and that's great. But the ladies still have to get up to pump, right? Otherwise,
These women just
what
gatekeeping.
happens?
Hey, nobody
Moves-
said fatherhood. Nobody said fatherhood was easy. Not like motherhood.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's, I love that line from The Simpsons where he's trying to tell, where he's telling Krusty there about how it's great to be a father, and he's like, it's so easy, not like being, it's so difficult, not like being a mother. No, I'm totally kidding. Moms work, yeah, they don't just work hard. It is hard on them in all ways.
Yes.
And it continues to be hard on them. But it's the best job ever. So I'm told.
Yeah. Jess says thanks.
I don't know. Like I'm gonna say bullpen catcher might be the best job in the world, or just a bullpen manager.
Backup
Just like that would be
goalie.
the best job.
Backup goalie. You sit on the fucking bench. You open the door. Maybe you get autographs. You hang out, have beers. Like what?
But think about bullpen.
And then if you go into net, like there's zero expectations. You're either getting fucking lit up, and you go in. If you let in 8, who gives a fuck?
Air's really
Or errors set the bar too fucking high now.
But just think about the guy, in the bullpen, picking up the phone to know, like, to tell the pitcher to start warming up. You're like, Steve, they want you to warm up. And you hang the phone back up, you sit back down. Best job.
Yeah, but you have to have a clipboard, because if you have a clipboard, it looks legit.
Yeah,
right.
But still, you get up, you answer it.
Like a clipboard, like on the phone, whatever, and
Great job.
Like, hey, get your shit together. Get in there.
Yeah.
You're right. It's probably pretty cushy.
I feel like backup goalies, that's got to be pretty close to being the same thing as the bullpen manager, though. Like, as far as the amount of activity that you get in any given game.
If I got a fucking phone call tomorrow, I'd do it. Corona, I'd do it.
I'd be the worst bullpen catcher in the world. Like they're like, all right, and we need the lefty to warm up, and you catch a couple. You're like, I would be like, you're good. That's, you know what? You don't want to throw it out.
You don't want to throw too much. Don't want to waste any pitches. Oh God. And that, yeah, I don't know. I don't know what other easy jobs there are though. Like I really do think those might be the two like golden jobs.
Oh yeah.
Well, as far as sports are concerned, absolutely. Like I don't think of any. What, you're going to be the kicker, and then you're going to end up like the plot of an Ace Ventura movie, right? If you shit the bed, like,
some kickers still get cranked.
Yeah.
Like a huge 250-pound linebacker or 300-pound linebacker, you might still get cranked. So it's not the end all be all.
Yeah, fair enough.
I'm trying to
like,
think who's got like the easiest jobs in any organization, and all I can think of right now is the guy who just dances in the Mighty Mighty Boss Tones. Like a hype man in a band, or like
But that guy's burning calories way more
that's
than
true. Way
a bunch
way
of
more
other guys.
the guy in the bullpen who goes like, hey, you're up.
And that's the only thing too. But like, a backup goalie is that if that team's on fire still and they're still just firing shots in, you might still be getting lit up, and it might there's no pressure on you, but
Still sucks.
It still sucks. And and those games get out of hand. You get those games that are like 8-1. That's when shit goes down and people start just throwing haymakers. So like, you might be like, well, guess what, Nick, you're fighting because you're the backup.
Yeah, but like,
you meet that one crazy goalie.
Backup goalie getting paid, right? Even if it's league fucking minimum, I'll do that full time and then like wipe my tears with money.
Yeah.
Like, fuck.
Well, I mean, if you'll get CTE from blocker shots from Patrick Roy, so that might be a bad deal. I don't know how much the league minimum is. So
I'm pretty sure. What was it? Vernon fought Roy? No, Osgood.
Osgood and Vernon, both of them.
Both of them. Because
after
Osgood's
year.
tilt with Roy was a good one.
They were both solid.
They were both
solid.
Yeah, those games, those are
years.
classics right there.
I thought it was his wife.
Oh,
Oh, that one I heard.
Zing.
I got a feeling we're gonna be like clipping some parts of this podcast, just like, hey, what Jess Singers.
Yeah.
Man.
I can leave and go get the boy, and then Jess can sit in, and you guys can get your
That's
one.
fine. Yeah, we would love to talk to her.
Well, there you go.
Just duck sound the whole time.
Yeah. Come on in. We had our wives on a couple weeks ago.
The wives of beer and bullshit. There's like a reality TV show waiting.
Well, they're supposed to start their own podcast.
Oh, really?
Or at
It
least
talks about how shitty
do a
our
special.
podcast is.
Yeah.
I was sitting in this house with a newborn baby for the last 3.5 months. I have nothing interesting to talk about except my baby's
There you
bowel movements.
Did you hear it?
We could do a mothering podcast, like a parenting podcast, I guess.
Nappy hour?
Sure, that's a
Appies and nappies will give
Nappy
recipes and shit, right? God,
Hey, I need to figure out how to get some of your food to me in Timmins because whatever you're posting online right now looks just fucking delicious. Like everything you post there, it's unreal. There's no way I can do that. Can happen?
No, not really.
You're not interested in starting some of these. I know. I was like semi kidding when I said you should send out these like good food / HelloFresh type boxes.
I literally I feel like that's a liability nightmare, and like the having to pack it up and then ship it, and then who the fuck knows, like Purelator loses it or leaves it out for like 6 hours just on the fucking counter. Like, no.
I promise you, I will not sue.
We'll get like whatever, the hamburg for ourselves and the ground pork for ourselves. You just tell us how much we have to mix together, and you send us the spices, and you just tell us exactly how to cook it.
We'll do a podcast.
You
We'll do a
guys
podcast of it.
and purchase a Polyscience immersion circulator. Probably run you a couple grand, and then you you can make burgers like I do, and then you spend like over 20 grand to get the Southern Pride smoker, and then you can smoke meat like I do. And I can show you how to do shit. You're frozen. Oh, there it
Or you can
is.
be locked at home and smoke meat like I do. Hey.
Okay, we need to do a podcast with Jess now.
Yeah, fuck
That
me.
was good.
Like, get the hell out of here.
Sorry.
Yeah.
It's like I was gonna say something, but like
Good
Nick
shit.
has been
That's how
smoking
it
meat for
does-
years. Say it again.
Oh, I was just gonna say, like, that from the last fucking podcast, you guys were talking shit about how Jess is a figment of my imagination, not a real person.
Well, I'm convinced now, Nick.
Yeah.
Consider me convinced. She's a real person.
You were at the wedding, for fuck's sake.
Yeah, pretty sure that was a hologram.
All right.
Just saying. That was a good wedding back in the day when we used to be able to go to weddings.
Yeah, we could even hug people.
Yeah. See, there's something I wonder what's going to happen now. Like, what's wedding season going to look like?
Oh,
this
dude,
summer?
we've already had cancellations because we had bookings like every fucking weekend in August. We were booked for a wedding. We had a bunch of caterings. Like, we have Christmas parties booked already. Like, I don't know what the fuck's going to happen here.
Yeah.
Because how the hell are you going to have a Christmas party or a wedding or whatever the hell the case may be where your limit is 5 people?
Yeah, that's not happening. Like,
Fuck.
I don't know. I don't know where this goes. Especially something like that, like the summer, right? Like the summer is usually festivals. You're seeing festivals getting canceled right and left. You're just seeing
Marathons.
Yes, races.
No. Heck, the Fire Festival 2.0
Still on.
it's on.
Oh, fuck off.
Thanks, Jess.
Is it really though? Like,
No,
is it supposed to be
I don't
happening? I didn't realize. Okay, that was a joke.
Did the first one happen?
No. But I thought that maybe Ja Rule came out of whatever hole he was.
He should go back in that fucking hole.
How dare you?
It is pretty funny that the guy that ended up like being the guy to organize this fake festival was Ja Rule of all people.
Do you guys saw the fucking like Netflix documentary or whatever about this, right?
Yeah, I did.
Where Buddy's like talking about how he's like, I gotta go suck dick for water.
And he was fully ready to do it.
Yeah, he was gonna do it. And you're like, holy fuck. And then on last week's fucking podcast, you guys talking about Tiger King. You fucking watched that shit yet?
Yes.
The new episode's coming out on Sunday. One more apparently.
I think we've been coerced, and we're gonna be doing it this weekend.
You gotta watch this. It's
so good.
You just need to like get the gif of him saying, "Guess what, motherfucker," and like live your life like that. So much comedic gold, and like it's a fucking car wreck, and you can't stop watching it.
Yeah, you're like this guy, and if you really want to get into it, like go look at his YouTube videos.
Oh my god,
this guy, he has like all those videos of him in that tiger cage where he's walking around and there's just tigers around him and he's just going on rants. Like those things go on for like an hour, and
so
it's
great.
Yeah.
You were talking about how you were like, you saw this dude on John Oliver.
That's right, yeah.
And like, so we started watching Tiger King, and Jess is in the corner doing the like, this guy fucking looks familiar, and I can't place it. And then it was like, oh, holy fuck, he's on John Oliver his like running for president bullshit or governor or whatever the hell it was at the time.
90% of the votes, man. He was going for it.
Yeah. It's just one of those moments of like, oh my god, this dude, like, this isn't just it is out of left field, but like the guy had a fucking presidential campaign, and then he hired someone, paid him $3,000 to murder someone.
Yes.
Best fucking deal ever.
This is a spoiler alert, Jay.
Yeah, thanks.
You're welcome.
Now you're gonna tell me the special needs kid isn't the one who killed the one girl on Making a Murder. Thanks.
What?
Making a Murder? No,
I
didn't see that one.
see season 2.
Oh, also, Jon Snow.
Oh, I have not watched any Game of Thrones.
Okay, all right. I won't ruin it. That'd be
Is it worth watching? In
Jon
my
dies, all right.
I don't know.
It is worth watching. I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
Everyone shits on, like, fuck, man. Everybody shits on the new season, just like everybody shits on the new Star Wars, and it's like blah blah blah. It's not what I wanted. Well, fuck you and what you wanted, because it's not about you. You literally
About
have
the story.
Well, you can't. You're not above it. right? Like, just because it didn't end the way that you fucking wanted it to, doesn't mean that it's
And
not
even
good.
if it is really bad, who cares? It's a fucking TV show.
That.
I'd say leave your house, but we can't do that anymore.
Yeah, that is forbidden. That's like Handmaid's Tale shit.
But this is a good point. I think you mentioned about endings, like series endings and all that, those kinds of things. Like, I don't think anybody's happy when their favorite show ends. So it's the impossible task to have it end in a satisfactory way, where everybody just goes, oh, like that was such a great ending. A movie doesn't quite have
The Sopranos, right? Sopranos had a great ending. No one says that.
The best
Right?
series ending was House.
House?
That one was absolutely perfect. Couldn't have done it better.
So how many
Breaking Bad was
shows
good.
can you say that you watched and the show ended and you're like, cool? Right? Like, what jumps out is like, oh, that was a perfect ending.
Well, I'd say
Seinfeld.
Leo dying, that's it.
Leo
I gotta
dying.
Seinfeld.
But
Seinfeld's
even then,
finale.
like, oh, fuck,
Perfect.
there's still room on that table or whatever the fuck that chick was floating on.
Yeah.
Not a
Yeah,
perfect ending. You're yeah.
But Jay makes a good point. I think Seinfeld had a good ending. I really do think it had a good ending.
For Seinfeld.
For Seinfeld.
For that show, it was perfect.
I thought Breaking Bad had a good ending.
Breaking Bad was good.
It was just the right ending.
Yeah,
It wasn't
like, so the movie comes out and people are all up in arms about that shit, and the movie wasn't bad. It was literally like, hey, what did Jesse do?
Yeah,
And
it tied up the loose end.
Yeah, I was of the theory that was like Jesse literally went and became Todd Chavez in BoJack Horseman, and that was right. He's literally a dude who ran away and then ends up sleeping on a guy's couch who is like a famous actor from the 80s or whatever the fuck it was, and then
90s.
Whatever.
The 90s. It's the first line of the show. It's great.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
You guys
can't think
do a
of like
fucking
what else would have been
podcast.
perfect.
What else was perfect?
Like good ending for a series or something.
what
I'm
other
trying to think of other ones. Like
The Simpsons is really setting themselves up for either having to go on forever or having the best ending possible.
That had a good ending.
Fresh Prince?
Yeah.
What was the ending?
Yeah.
Oh, when they leave the house?
the house is empty.
Yeah, they
It was
moved.
okay.
Yeah.
Like How I Met Your Mother was fucking horseshit.
No,
See?
it was- the show-
Jess was just saying that she liked
The
it.
show is about moving on after loss, which is exactly what the series.
Get your ass
ending
over
was.
here and fucking tell me.
Please.
Yeah, you can get on
Please.
camera if you want.
Please. Are you kidding me? First of all, worst character ever for any TV show possible, next to JD from Scrubs. Horseshit. Or sorry. I apologize. Ross from Friends is the single worst character of all time.
Correct. That is true.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah. How did Friends end?
They finally leave the apartment.
See, it all seems to be like the sitcoms seem to be able to they figured this out, right? Because there's no story arc to stay
You're right.
to stay
There's no ending needed.
yeah, like they're ending a show in a sense like they're I don't know, they're sort of ending the character's relationship with the audience, but they're not ending a story of some kind.
Big Bang.
I got it.
Good ending.
Perfect
What?
ending. Star Trek Next Generation.
Well,
All good things. They played a poker game. Beautiful. Beautiful.
And then that's what they opened up with in Picard.
Yeah,
it's
they
not
actually
over.
did.
Yeah, Data and Picard playing poker.
So it never ended by that logic. It's just
Yeah.
a continuation, right?
So they just restarted because people thought the ending was horseshit.
Oh my god, I forgot
That was
about
the most
that.
traumatic
Do you
ending of the
fuckers
show.
remember dinosaurs?
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's not the mama?
The asteroid. The
Man,
asteroid hits.
where it's just like
No.
they're
It was
huddled
the
up.
Ice Age.
It was the Ice Age, yeah. They're like
They were
huddled
stuck
up.
in their house waiting to die.
Yeah.
End of series.
Yeah, it was like
Thanks, Jim Henson.
the ashes and shit. It's like, oh, like what now? It's like, no, you're dead. That's it. That's the end.
Yeah.
Like,
You know what I don't understand about that? That show is weird. The mom, the dad are completely different type of dinosaurs, and their baby was completely different than what they were. I'm just saying. It made no sense.
that's what you're hung up on
Well,
here.
trivia. Who plays their son is the same fact as the voice of Donatello in the original badass Ninja Turtle movies.
Who?
I'm full of useless trivia.
Okay,
So next time you guys do trivia, Jess needs to just remotely chime in with shit, because like
I'm full of
she
useless
is full of useless information.
Well, I don't know. This is the most useful information that I've had in my head in a very long time. So I need to know what that last little tidbit she said about Donatello and
The
Turtles movies.
actor who plays Earl Sinclair's son, the teenage son in Dinosaurs, is
Yeah?
the same actor who played Donatello in the 3 original and clearly the best Ninja Turtle movies.
All 3.
All 3.
Okay. Yeah, there's no disagreement there that the 3 first ones were the best, considering there's only 2 that came after that, like the Michael Bay ones.
There's like 4 new ones now.
No, is there? No.
There's a bunch of cartoons and all
Oh,
kinds
That doesn't count. You can't count those.
Okay, but not like not live action ones, like big blockbuster ones there.
I haven't seen the new live action ones.
The only thing that's good about the new ones is that like Will Arnett's in it.
That's right. He plays Vernon.
Yeah, and it's hilarious. Like that is the only part that's remotely good.
Yeah,
I'm hung up on like what TV show ended well.
I don't know. Roseanne?
Show ever.
Yeah, Roseanne. She went on a fucking tirade about racism and shit.
The
Or no,
show
that's the
ended
Connors.
before
Never
Ryan-
mind. And it's not done.
The last season was not real. It was all a dream ending.
Yeah, and Dan
It's
died.
like Lost, right? Lost ending was like, oh, it's a dream. Like,
Well,
cool.
is that what it was? Because I didn't really understand the ending of Lost.
It was a book she was writing.
Who?
Who gives a fuck? Lost sucked.
Lost.
Wasn't the island his dream?
Suck.
Oh, Lost. I was talking about Roseanne.
Lost was garbage.
Why did you think Lost was garbage?
Every fucking aspect of that show was a steaming pile.
Sounds like you didn't watch it.
I didn't get through all of it, but every aspect that I did watch was shit. I enjoyed 24, and that was because like Jack Bauer literally tortured people on television, and it was permitted, and yeah.
Because we know that torture is effective.
Well, yeah, they're not going to tell you whatever it is you want to know, right? They're 100% telling the truth every time. That's just facts. If Gitmo taught us anything. Oh, it didn't? Oh, I missed that memo.
Oh, yeah, I thought it taught us a lot.
It's still open. Must have taught us something.
No, I thought Lost was a great show, but the ending was confusing. That's all. I like the whole good and evil struggle thing there that they introduced towards the last, like, not the last season, but like the last few seasons.
Well, we started watching Battlestar Galactica, and I've enjoyed it.
Oh, I've seen it like 5 times.
And
It's
Solid.
yeah,
Battlestar Galactica, the ending.
I haven't
we'll
gone
talk
through
about
the whole
it,
thing.
But it's really, really, the ending of Battlestar Galactica is spectacular. I know a lot of people have some issues with it, specifically with certain character arcs, but I thought the ending of Battlestar was fantastic.
Yeah, I don't want to ask what the ending was again, because just in case wouldn't want to ruin anything. But it's I think it was solid. It was like, oh, okay, I see what they did there.
It's
Like, okay.
Yeah, and actually, Futurama, the ending of Futurama was spectacular.
I can't think of Futurama and not think of the scene with the dog left outside. And it's
That's
like
the end, right?
super fucking depressing.
No, well, it's like one of the first episodes or
It's
early.
very early on
No,
where
the
Fry
ending
leaves
of-
his dog.
the
and
But is
the
that
dog's
not-
waiting for him.
The ending of Futurama, they freeze time, Leela and Fry, they live their whole life, and then they go through a black hole to relive their whole life again together. They get to, like, just basically start over.
Yeah, but
So it's this loop where you can just keep watching the series over and over, and there's no break because you're dealing with time dilation and all that.
Science, bitch.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah, okay.
Yeah,
Sounds complicated. No, but it brings me back to my other point that I wonder how
You had a point. All right.
What are the Simpsons gonna do? Like, what do you think the Simpsons are going to?
They're gonna renew for like 6 years and then not make another episode.
Scorched earth, kill everyone.
That's just like, what up?
That's true. They're like every character is going to offend somebody at some point in history, so they'll have to kill them off one by one, and then eventually it'll be like the Simpsons, and then no one will be on the couch.
It's just a show about the couch.
That's it. It's like, oh man.
Did they kill Apu? Like, what the fuck happened there? I
don't even know. I don't know.
Stopped using a white dude to voice him. I think they just because it was
Hank
Azaria.
voice, yeah.
Also, Brockmeyer's fucking hilarious.
He got really dark in the last.
Brockmeyer? Hank Azaria is like, he plays a sportscaster for like minor league baseball on Comedy Central. It's fucking funny, man.
He's a funny dude.
He got it's a sportscaster who got fired for going on a drunken, offensive tirade about walking in on his wife getting pegged by their neighbor.
Or his wife pegging the neighbor.
Or his wife pegging the neighbor.
Yeah.
Ah, yes.
Pretty funny.
One of those
That's
categories in Pornhub there we were talking about.
That's on your like favorites, right?
I'm just saying. It's out there.
There.
He's like, Jason just keeps track of it as a cataloging exercise.
Yeah, I just need to know what's available.
Okay.
Did you see the
I
episode,
remember.
Did you see the episode of Penny vs. Penny where it was who could make the better porno? And Kenny's approach was to create a porn category that didn't exist, and he created comedy porn.
No.
Dude.
What is comedy porn?
Kenny Hotz invented it in Kenny vs. Penny. It's pretty good, actually.
Well, I'm gonna have to. It's pretty good, actually.
As comedy or as pornography?
Why not both? Right?
Why?
Horrific as porn.
I was gonna chime in with like I have memories of playing hockey and sitting in a fucking room with all the dummies on the team. Someone rented porn, and Veemer, sorry Randy, was sitting there and like critiquing the dialogue.
No, if I recall right, is that someone's TV, I think it was my room, it was not unlocked for some reason. It was just, or it wasn't locked. It was just like, we turned on the TV and it was on. And I have a feeling it was me and, I don't know if it was Joe Matz or like Will West or something, but it was just on our TV. And we're like, and everyone would, and I think the dads found out, then all the kids got out and the dads stayed in that room.
Yeah, that wouldn't surprise me. That's like the dads going to Eddie's or the coaching staff going to Eddie's, specifically your dads going to Eddie's.
It's this is a world our children will not live in. This idea of like discovering or coming across pornography. Yeah. This is just something they're gonna live with.
The scrambled channel, that's not going to be a thing.
The struggle.
It's like Google safe search off and then go.
You ever stay up and watch Red Shoe Diaries with David Duchovny?
No, Blue Nuit full time. That's it.
The Red Shoe Diaries. Jess, you are full of references tonight. I love this.
What was the other one? Emmanuel in space or Emmanuel in whatever.
That's right. Yeah.
Who? I had a question. I had
Sheltered Life. I know Blue Nuit and none of this other shit.
I just remembered.
Yeah, but Nick, you have to remember that Blue Nuit was it wasn't an actual show. It was a segment on TQS where they would put dubbed English softcore from like Skinamax.
And they fucking nailed it.
Did you ever watch Sunday Night Sex with Sue?
Oh my god, yeah. Sex show with Sue.
That's how Canadian children learned about sex.
Yeah, well, I gotta say, when I was watching, when I was letting, I think it was channel 13 that would scroll through. I gotta say, when I saw that sex with Sue, I thought that was pretty false advertising. When I ended up on that, when I ended up on that channel,
It was
completely not what I was expecting.
You're
a pretty
still
solid joke.
okay with it.
I think
Oh,
you
the solid joke. I don't know if you guys remember. I was trying to think about who those three people. I remember their, and I'm not sure if Corey, you might have been on a team that year or not. I'm assuming Nick was. There was myself. I mean, somebody who looked like me, Rush HVA, and somebody else who, for some reason, bought a bunch of banana hammocks and put them on and just walked out all wearing them. And we had them all the time for whatever. I can't remember. There was a third guy, and I can't remember who the third one is. And
Is that
I
flurries? Like,
no, it must have been Feldman or East Sides or I don't know.
I don't recall that memory. I think you might have dreamt it.
blocked it out, man. You blocked it out.
No, these are just Jay's dreams.
Yeah.
Oh shit.
Yeah, that. I think I would remember that one.
Nope.
Wait.
Anyway.
Yeah.
Do you guys remember leaving all of our equipment in the bus and having it freeze and then having to run the showers at like full tilt on hot to try to steam the room to warm it up? And then and then your dad's walked in and did the like, what the fuck are you guys doing?
That happened many times though.
Yeah.
That was that's like a common problem when it comes to not having frozen equipment. I feel like only dads that have played hockey have that sensitivity when they bring their sons to the rink now. Like I'm a hawk for making sure my son's equipment is not left in the vehicle.
in the pickup truck on the driver cap.
That's not, and I don't know, maybe I feel like I'm raising a softie by doing that, but
Yeah, Jess just said it's a rite of passage.
yeah, it should be, but I don't know, that to me is worse than torture. Like,
a softie something.
what's that?
No. Nah.
Oh, you talked about making your son, you're maybe raising a softie and just something Nick raising a softie something.
Because I'm emotional, fuck.
Oh, that's all right. There's nothing wrong with that.
It's okay, I love you guys.
We love you too. We're happy you can come on the podcast and shoot the shit with us.
You mean talk shit. Stop
Yeah,
looking at your
that's
fucking
right.
watch.
Was that? No, I'm looking at my watch because I want to make sure that I know where to sync this. My video recording fucked up halfway through this, so I'm hoping that I'll have a decent product to put out there. I've been pretty shitty on it. Yeah, to be honest, I have been shitting the bed. But to be fair, this is the third podcast we do in 3 weeks, which has been completely unheard of for Beer and Bullshit.
You just usually have like a 3-month hiatus, no?
The only time this happens is when I don't have to go to an office. The last time we were doing weekly podcasts, I was on parental leave. Yeah. It's when we started this fucking thing.
Yeah.
Hold on a second. You can stay home as a dad?
Don't tell me that.
You sure can.
That's disgusting. How dare you?
Yeah, you watch your fucking mouth, Corey.
You know, you want to hear an even better one? I took 3 months off while my wife was off as well. You can do that.
You hear what he said, Nick?
Something about him getting his wife off.
For 3 months.
For 3 months. Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I need to like have a podcast about that.
And then you can start a podcast during that time, all that free time you have.
I don't want you home with me for 3 months. I'll murder
That.
So I'm going to let you know that I know I'm going to get a bunch of complaints from Pribble John Belanger and probably Kellen Boissneau saying about how we had a podcast with somebody who was off screen the whole time.
Why?
Because it's John Belanger.
Just was off screen.
Yeah.
Because it's John Belanger. You know, John.
Yeah,
Blonde
but
is gonna
you know what? The majority of people who listen to this, they actually listen to the audio
I
version.
know. I'm surprised.
I thought that was a little. I didn't really fully grasp that, but I guess like I don't watch a lot of video podcasts, so
Same. You just put it in your ear and you walk away.
Yeah,
I just listen to the audio because I can put it on like the radio.
yeah.
Yeah.
Stuff with the baby, I just put it on in the house.
I listen to you dummies periodically when I'm at work.
I like that.
And then,
well.
as I mentioned earlier, I like cuss you out and chime in with my 2 cents, but no one's there to listen, right?
These guys are completely full of shit.
Well, specifically the tidbit about coronavirus and how the focus is now, and now is a problem, but 3 months from now, 6 months from now, a year from now, that is like more significant from a business standpoint. Because you got to get to that fucking point, right?
Yeah.
I agree, and I think one of the reasons why we brought it.
And we're
up
back to
last time.
coronavirus.
You can only stay away from it for so long.
And then it gets you, man.
It gets you. It's like some sort of infection. You know,
Yeah,
it's sort of like
meters away from it, you're fucked.
that's right. That's right. No, it's part of the reason why I think it's important for us, if we're going to be talking about this stuff, to talk to different people with different perspectives, right? Like last week we had John on, and all three of us worked from home. Sorry, I saw Jay laugh, like he was like John Balaje providing perspective on the coronavirus, right?
So just talking shit about him because he's not fucking here to mouth off.
Right.
Oh, we
That's
would.
right.
You knew he was here. We don't. like him.
No, but I thought it was interesting to talk to somebody else who like is also working from home and that. But it is nice to talk to somebody who's actually out in the field working, right? And not just like working on the front lines in healthcare, right? Performing another essential service, making sure that people have food and people have like are able to have what?
Beer.
That's more important.
That's the focus.
So Nick, you listened to the last one, and we spoke about the point that Lance Pollock brought up to us about, is this going to be a rethinking of essential services? Like, do these people who are considered now essential services, who currently get paid minimum wage,
Yep.
the legal minimum you can pay them, should we be reconsidering this structure? Should they be getting paid more? And I don't think anyone's going to say no, but once again, it's not a skill level you have to attain to get to that point, but you are putting your life on the line unknowingly.
That hazard pay. So from a business standpoint, and it may sound super fucking heartless, but there comes a point where if you're paying someone, $14 to push a fucking broom, what are you going to have to pay someone who is skilled labor?
Yep.
Like, there is something to be said there, right? If you have anybody with any measure of experience, then you're driving that price point up and your labor cost is through the fucking roof.
Yep.
And specifically with the margins in a restaurant, it's very difficult to make ends meet. So as Jess chimed in the background, hazard pay would be an interesting take. Because if you're in a situation like this where it's a fucking pandemic and someone pumping gas is deemed an essential service, and granted, like, I would like to think they have fucking self-serve gas at this point, but whatever. If you're a grocery store clerk or whatever the fuck the case may be, you should be. What's that?
Your language. No, okay. Keep going.
Sorry, I'm not. But yeah, you should be compensated.
Oh, 100%.
There's no doubt. Like, I don't think there's anybody who's going to say otherwise at this point. But I also know from the business standpoint, it's also it's a difficult balancing act, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you can't, as a business, due to the pandemic, and you're like, okay, these people are deemed an essential service. So are you going to start selling toilet paper for $30 fucking?
Yeah.
Right? Like,
does that mean the government has to step in, or labor unions need to step in?
Like I'm not naive enough to say that I have the answers on this one, because like it's a
To be
slippery.
fair, we're not asking for the answers. We just want your opinion.
No, you know damn well that everything I say is an answer.
He only gives solutions, Jay.
That's true. There's problem finding, and
Ultimate,
problem solving.
ultimate, and like the last solution to things.
Yeah, would you say the final solution? You fucking dick.
I don't understand what.
Anyways,
It's like when big problems come around, you
Good
have
Friday.
Yeah. It's
top
Passover. It's fine.
No, but I do think that this sort of turns it turns the free market on its head a little bit. I think
it makes you rethink who the fuck is essential,
yeah.
right? Because if you have somebody who's like, "Oh, I'm a social media influencer," like, who gives a fuck?
You're not even important, let alone essential.
Right? I know. Thank you. So, like, there are people that kind of walk the walk, and it's like, who the fuck?
Well, when it comes to that though, like I think it really depends on the times, right? Like it's true that in situations of crisis, if you're looking at it through strictly a labor market or a free market perspective, like the people who run the grocery stores are way more essential, and their value goes up significantly in situations like that. But in situations of plenty where people can go out and get their food at any time and there's no risk, which presumably we will get to again, right? That part of it is like value in the labor market changes there.
Yeah.
Like you don't stay at that where, oh shit, anybody who's exposed, like you call it hazard pay, right? Yeah. Well, that once the hazard is mitigated, does it still warrant hazard pay?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Is there, and would there be a difference? Does this situation, it being a pandemic, are the essential services different with this situation than there are with, let's say, if it was, Britain during the Blitz? Are those essential services different? Are obviously police, fire, all that stuff still the same? You probably still have educators. You probably still have grocery workers.
Fucker.
Well, like you're gonna have kids still staying in school, like, or you still need to teach, whatever welder how to be a welder, But like, does anything change? Or like, you can argue that during the Second World War, train operators and truckers were just as essential as they are now.
Yeah.
So they're probably saying, like, what has changed? Like, maybe, like,
what?
It's different society. I think takeout food is different than, that probably wasn't a thing back in the 30s and 40s. It's much more accustomed now. Also, probably because we live different type of lives.
Fucking farm. You grew your shit and you made
it,
right? Like,
does anything change? Like,
I would like to think that when all this shit is over, you have people with more of an appreciation of those who are working in, hospitality or service and that kind of shit.
I
right?
would like to see more people focused on local, realizing how the local economy specifically is affected, and really pushing for small businesses as opposed to like, going
big
to
box
some
store.
some sort of international chain store, realizing that, hey, if I go and I pay $1 more so I can go to a small business, I'm helping my local economy instead of putting money into a business that, like Walmart is thriving right now. They're hiring people because they're doing business so well.
I heard that they were closing across Canada.
Yeah, that's bullshit.
They're hiring
That's bullshit.
tens of thousands of people.
They sell groceries, man. Like,
I was gonna say
they're not gonna close. Like Canadian Tire closed.
Yeah.
And they did they're closed, but they're still selling curbside or order online shit, right? Okay. So, like, you have businesses that, are going to be forced to close. You have businesses that are adapting, but all in all, like, I'd like to think that you're going to have people that are a little more appreciative of the people that are at the other side of the counter that are ringing you through, or the server taking your fucking food order or whatever. Like, the amount of shit that like we see in this industry, self-entitlement or whatever. I'm sure there's horror stories from the retail side of things, right? That you have somebody who's like, what? You see the stories even on the news of like some asshole coughing on somebody during this shit. Like, oh, you took too long to ring my beer through at the LC, so I'm going to hork a loogie on you. Like, what the fuck is wrong with you? Right? Like,
Yeah.
All I know is I am happy that we have these large box stores because I am all for trickle-down economics, Reagan economics. I'm just saying. I'm kidding. I just want to get Jess going.
Yeah.
The thing is that these types of things...
Jay.
Pardon?
I'm impressed you're not wearing orange.
Hey, what can I say? Business has changed for me.
Or commie red, one of the two.
Can I add a very strange...
Okay, hang on. Jess wants to do a sidebar stories with Jess.
Come closer.
Please,
closer
come in. Oh, no, she's rocking a baby. So.
Oh, do you have a boob out?
No. It's that kind of podcast.
Nick, I can get that for you if you like.
Okay, go ahead.
I just want to, I'm just, as somebody who was appalled at the flaming dumpster fire that was Ford's premiership. Premiership, is that the word?
Yep.
Ford's run as premier. I am shocked, surprised, and very impressed at how he's been handling things.
Yeah, and I think we talked about that too.
Absolutely shocked.
I think we were all surprised. Like, I would argue him and even Trudeau, and I think most Canadian leadership, I think, like, everyone for the first few weeks or month had kind of like just kind of hoping it wasn't going to be as bad as it was going to get. But I found like once they all realized, nope, this sucks, and it was much earlier than south of us, they realized, you know what, all right, let's get shit going. Like, we have to fix this now. Like, let's do what we got to do. And they all kind of projected that, you know, actual leadership and level-headedness where isn't going on in the States. But I do find like everyone hoped nothing too much was going to happen.
Yeah, I think that it's impressive to me how it has largely it's not a political issue here. And granted, they're in an election year down south, so they're all playing their long game anyways. But to turn something like a pandemic that's costing people's lives into a political issue is atrocious. Mm-hmm. And I'm really, really pleased that that's not happening here in Canada. That even the scum on the bottom of the scumbag's foot, Andrew Scheer, is managing to behave like a human being.
Yeah.
Tell us how you really feel.
He's forgetting about la crème de la crème, Max Bernier, and the rest of those fucking idiots in the People's Party, which shouldn't even be a fucking party.
I beg your pardon?
You heard You heard me.
They were the party for the people.
Yeah.
Which people?
It's right in the name, Nick.
They're right, a bunch of shysters, man.
Corey and I moderated that one debate, and God, that was awesome. There was just, it was fantastic.
Nice guy.
I can't deal with it.
You're what? Sorry?
I can't deal with that.
Are they still a party? If they didn't get a single seat, didn't they lose their party status?
Well, no, you can still be a party. You can still be a registered party. Its party status is only recognized within the House.
Yeah.
Okay.
So recognized in the House, they don't get. I think there's so much funding you get, and like the party gets so much from the government. So if you aren't a recognized party, you don't get whatever, and you technically don't caucus and stuff like that. You know, you still technically caucus on the side, anyways.
Yeah. I feel like they're the only party that's actively like kind of criticizing everything that's going on, no matter what. And
dude, listen, I gotta go look this up.
Oh man, I
gotta see this.
Like a guy I know.
Oh, really?
A guy I know ran in the prairies and got lit up, and rightfully fucking so. And he's very, very vocal, and it grinds my gears. I try not to engage, but there are occasions that I'm like, I want to flip a fucking table and just punch him in the throat. I can't express myself properly. That it's like there's so much shit that is wrong with your statement or your mindset that like.
Listen here, 1933.
Right, like what fucking year is it? What are we talking about? Like, immigrants. Like, no, only my grandparents are allowed to immigrate here. Like, get the fuck out of here, man. Like,
so this also, like, I would argue, I
you just want to argue.
Yeah, I understood a libertarian's point of view. But I think when shit like this happens, it completely throws whatever argument they had out the window. Because you want to talk about just small government and how everyone should be able to do what they want. Obviously, fucking not.
Anarchy.
Yeah, like, so guess what? We need some type of fucking control. We need some way to be able to track all of these testing, all these statistics, track whatever, make sure supply chains keep working properly. Obviously, small government's not the way to fucking go.
To play devil's advocate,
just die.
Every one of these libertarian goons is driving their pickup truck over to Service Canada to pick up their emergency check.
Yeah. With their slip tank in the back. But go ahead, Corey.
To be devil's advocate in these situations, okay? The only thing I would say is that obviously I think the failure here is to be married to any kind of ideology, because I do agree 100% that in these times, you see it too, you see it online, that none of these libertarian like ideologies are being adhered to because they won't work in these situations. It won't protect anybody, right?
Anti-vaxxers, man.
What's that?
Anti-vaxxers.
Yeah.
How the fuck can you have an argument for anti-vaxxation when, like, right now you're dealing with one virus with no vaccine and the whole fucking world's on lockdown?
No, of course. But do you
just so they can stick us all with RFID chips?
These people want to, like, that's right.
No, but I do see the need for people because it, like, I see the need for people to value their liberties and freedoms, right? Because especially in a situation like this, we could be vulnerable to governments holding on to powers, to centralized power, right? So the idea that there will be a force pulling in the other direction, I don't think is, like, ultimately it should not win in this situation. We should be going into more centralized decision making where, yes, we'll be able to make decisions that affect a lot of people at once. But is it a bad thing that we still have that force reminding us that, yes, we are giving up some level of privacy, some level, like, with these contact tracings and all the countries that have been super effective at doing this, right, have given up some level of liberty in order to be able to do this effectively.
It depends on context and also, who you're telling that to.
We're also not through the other side, right?
I mean, if you're
so
putting forth these ideas like, hey, by the way, don't forget, we are giving up some of our freedom and some of our liberties by going outside. It's justified. It's the same as our hate speech laws that we have, where the Supreme Court has said, yes, our hate speech laws do contradict our freedom of speech laws, but because we remember the 1930s, we think that it's justified to say it's illegal to go around and deny the Holocaust and, incite hatred and violence and stuff.
Think about that, Jason.
Like, I always want to make jokes, but, like, you can't, and I can't. I'm like,
you can't. You're gonna get thrown in jail. But actually, you'll get thrown in jail and then let out because of COVID.
Yeah. And then I'll find you.
I'm just saying, I do not like how a lot of these, we're going to go, if we want to go about God's chosen people, I don't like how people talk about how, the Jew menace, they're all business people and they're super, all about money.
And
obviously, I would say, obviously, they're not. Because I'm just saying, when it comes to marketing, I would argue the Hebrews did not do a great job in marketing, because if you want to look at the size of religions between Christianity,
Corey rolls away.
Judaism or Islam, I'm going to say there's two is huge number. And, you know, the godfather of these three religions has not really grown that big. I'm just saying. Business-wise, they must not be good business people. I'm just saying. So,
you want to put this shit on the internet right now? Like, you want
Just
you saying this?
no, I'm just saying I don't believe that people who say they're all money crazy, I think they're wrong. I don't think they're I think they're racist to say that.
That's a good save.
Yeah.
You guys take things out of context all the time. This is also the group who got, or you know, Corey and whoever else we had on were against the fact that my grandfather flew over Germany in the Second World War and saw it from a plane. And they thought it was bad because my grandfather dropped bombs on Germany. It's like, excuse me, he was fighting against the goddamn Nazis. Right? So, I don't know. I think some people take what I say out of
We're all
context.
getting pretty PC these days.
Yeah.
I worked with a guy in the prairies who was German. And of course, we had a number of stupid banters back and forth, right? And there was one day when we were having our stupid jokes, because I'm notorious for doing it, as you guys know. And he did the, like, full stop. He's like, hey, like, in all seriousness, like, my grandfather died in a concentration camp in Germany. I was like, oh, fuck, like, what have I done? Like, oh, shit, right? Full stop.
Ugh.
And then, like, he didn't say anything. I'm like, what the fuck? And then he chimes in with, like, yeah, he got drunk and fell from the guard tower. And I was like,
Solid joke.
Come on, man. Yeah, it was brilliant. His delivery.
It's good. Like, and I think if you guys watch the Dave Chappelle being inducted into or getting the Mark Twain Award,
Yeah, I've seen it.
when he talks about how like comedy is the last bastion of free speech kind of, and how it's the only way you can still say something. Like, you know, the context when someone
about that shit a bunch.
Pardon?
Ricky Gervais has talked about that.
Oh yeah,
right.
And it's true.
A great leader for that in the 90s was Roseanne.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people were
Not so
offended.
much anymore.
Granted, she's gone a little far off.
Yeah, the deep end.
That's the thing. Like, but I think you know the context. Someone says something out like. You know this guy, you kind of know what he's talking about. When he's bringing up that joke, you know, like, oh, he was like, he's trying to get something out of me. Hopefully, most likely, you know, he does not believe it. You know, like, I think you know when people say stuff. And yet, I just find like you can cut things out of, like, you know, you can cut this thing out of this podcast. A bunch of things I've said in this podcast and in the other 47 we've done.
Oh, I intend to.
Like when I run for, you know, city council, suddenly, you know, all these things are things I've said. But like, I think everyone understands context, especially when it's trying to be like there's a comedic aspect to it. But like, I think, you know, he said that joke, but you know, like, oh, like that was a dick joke, but funny.
I think where you have to be careful in these situations, though, when we talk about speech.
Yep.
And I mean, I'm the one who was earlier advocating for libertarianism and the being able to say whatever you want. But I think it's important, especially in the context of comedy, that if you're going to make those kinds of jokes, that you're assuming, or you better be a competent comedian.
Yeah.
Right? Like the joke, because it's true that anything can be funny as long as it's funny.
Yeah. If
it's not funny...
Yeah.
Like, if your joke doesn't land, you got a problem. Like,
did I tell you about the joke about with the priest when I was for Paula's uncle's funeral?
So
No.
All I remember is it didn't land.
Okay?
No.
You're setting the stage here, so I mean,
It was perfect. So Nick, you'll love this. So Paula's uncle passes. He
I won't love that part.
Did I bring this up on the podcast, or was it just between me and you, Corey,
I
talking
think it
about
was just
this?
between you and I.
Okay. So, and this is like the second or third time I've really had a joke not land. And so the priest is there, and I am a hardcore, adamant atheist. And we're there, but like I grew up and I have to go through the whole bullshit Catholicism crap. And he
Tell us how you feel.
the priest is there, and like Paul's mom wanted me to come because like I'm still very like for some reason I still really like learning about religions, and I'll still read about like the the canonical stuff about Catholicism, or even like the Abrahamic religions, and just learning about that shit. And like when I'm bored, it's what I'm reading. I love that stuff. I don't know why. There's something about it. It seems interesting. But we're there, and she wanted me there because she knows I know a lot about the stuff, and like the certain readings I'll talk about, I'll know about them. And he's there, and he's like trying to be loose. It might have been it was a deacon. He wasn't a priest, but regardless, he was there because the priest couldn't come. And he's trying to be cool and loose and saying like like how the Catholic Church is like trying to be a little different and up to date on stuff. He's like, we're okay with. Pardon?
Doing TikTok dances.
Yeah. Oh yeah. But talking about how oh, we're cool and like we're okay now with cremations. Originally we weren't with that, but now we're cool with that. Don't worry about it. Like I'm not sure. Like I know myself, I'm not really into that because I don't like the idea about being burnt. Afterwards, I want my body to be there. I'm not sure what you guys think about. What do you guys think about? And he like starts asking the room, and he goes to like Paula's stepdad. And he's like, I think I'm okay. I'm okay with cremation. I think I'd rather be buried just, my body. And goes to her mom, goes to Paula, and goes to me. And like, they're all saying whatever. And I'm like, oh, frozen in liquid carbonite. Absolutely. And right there, like I could feel Paula's eyes rolling. And like Paula's mom is like, oh, fucking Star Wars joke. Like, you're an idiot. But this deacon or priest or whatever just went like sour. You would heard a record scratch, and he just starts going, you know what, it's not a time to joke around. All right, I don't care about this whole green stuff happening. I don't care, I know there's a new thing and people are trying to be like different, but the idea of biodegrading a body into acid is not the way to do it. And I was like, whoa. Wait a second.
There's a Star Wars show.
He's going and going, talking about how like I'm gonna put these bodies into a tub of acid to burn. Like that's what I want to do with my body. I'm like, what the hell is happening? And I'm looking around and I'm like, he's still yelling and angry. And I'm looking at Paula, and she's like, you're an idiot. Like, and he's going on, and I had to say, like, I just want to say, I'm sorry. I just want to clarify, this was from a Star Wars movie. It's about being frozen in cement. I don't know what you're talking about.
I mean, no disrespect.
But it went south fast. And in my head, I was like, this is going to be funny. And I'm just going to say it. It did not land. Think about it now. It's hilarious. It was fantastic being in that room. But yeah.
It's more comedic now because it was a failure.
See,
it was.
I'd really like to have my remains scattered around Disneyland. I don't want to be cremated though.
Yeah, just a hand.
It becomes a funny story rather than a funny joke. Yeah. Hey, listen, guys, I gotta wrap this up. How you guys feeling with a 2-hour podcast here?
Well, we're super efficient, obviously.
Nick's talking and people are listening to him. It's his favorite thing in the world.
I could go on for hours. I actually have to rock a piss, so.
All right. Well, before you go rock a piss, you want to tell us where anybody can find out what you're doing, anything you want our audience of 12 to know?
Well, I'm one of the 12, so it's 11.
So 11.
No, I mean I'm in Sudbury, and what
you have an Instagram where they can look at all your delicious food.
See, Jess is better at this shit than I am.
Yeah, okay, Jess.
Tell Jess,
and just give us some where you can see him and all that stuff.
Yeah.
You can follow Nick's Instagram is Gignac Nicholas, or at Gignac Nicholas, as the youths would say.
Youths.
Where he posts his foods. Stuff that he's doing at the restaurant, pictures of fish that I catch when we go out, pictures of our dog.
Actually, we're going to go for a walk.
And
he's going for a piss.
No. Fine.
Ah.
That's not the big one.
Right?
Yeah.
And where's, oh yeah. And then the hilarity that is Jess and my dad in the Bruins jersey.
Nice. Nice. Those are all Instagram worthy.
What isn't Instagram worthy at this point?
These days, I don't know. Especially
Yeah.
quarantine days. No, but thanks, Nick, for coming on the podcast there.
Thanks for having me.
Real good conversation and real good perspective on how this whole weirdness is impacting all sorts of different people. So we're gonna have to do this again.
Buddy, just wait till next month, man. The numbers are not going to get better. I'm telling you that now. It was what a restaurant industry alone was 800,000. So yeah.
Well, if there's any possible way that we can support you guys, and we can I don't know if I can place some advanced orders for when this gets back to normal, and I'm able to get into the restaurant, I would love to.
Well, you can order beer online. That's a thing. Or once all this shit is lifted, you can like take a roadie and do Beer and Bullshit Nick Edition Volume 3 at the Brewhouse.
That sounds like a plan. We'll do that for sure, 100%.
And Jess can actually
be there.
sit in on it. Be in the kitchen. It'll just be Jess.
Yes, we're only interested in having Jess on.
Rightfully so.
And thank you, Jess, for joining us as well.
Yes, thank you, Jess.
Sorry for intervening.
No worries. No, it was great.
Don't worry about it.
I'm full of 90s TV references for you guys, so.
Useless 90s TV references.
Those are very useful.
All right. Thanks, guys.
No problem.
All right,
So,
Jay. So tell us, do you have anything to sign us off on?
Yes, I do.
Why?
This is
Trudeau's song.
from the great Winston Churchill. Always remember that I have taken more out of alcohol than alcohol has taken out of me.
That's for most of us. All right. Cheers, guys.
I think you're fucking up.
We'll be drinking when you get here. We'll be wasting when you get here. Probably faster when you get here. Drinking beer.